up, yo? It's Marc Shannon for Fantasy Knockout Fantasy Football Show. Today is Friday, November 18th. I'm excited for today's show. It's the Week 11 must-start players plus bonus playoff talk. Who are we feeling confident about this week? Who are we worried about? Who are we going to pick up and stash for the playoffs? You can follow the show on social media at Fantasy Knockout. Make sure to subscribe whatever platform you're watching or listening on. And let's get that goal of 100 subscribers on YouTube. We're almost there. Quick reminder, drop it like it's hot. Check those waivers. See who was dropped. Maybe there's somebody better than what was originally on waivers this week. Then let's talk some news.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Here is the news.
News with views. So quarterback Taylor Heinicke from the Washington Commanders. His head coach Ron Rivera said that Heinicke will start week 11. Wide receiver Marquise Brown from Arizona. He has been diagnosed or designated with his foot injury to return from injured reserve. He's got that 21-day window that is now open and active. So he could officially play this Monday night if they want him to. Tight end Dallas Goedert from Philadelphia. He has been placed on the injured reserve with a shoulder injury. Wide receiver Jamar Chase from Cincinnati. He's reports the Bengals are hopeful that Chase, with his hip injury, will return week 12. So that's good news. Running back David Johnson. He's a free agent. He just signed to the New Orleans Saints practice squad. So this could mean Mark Ingram might miss some time. And I think this is a depth move. And then quarterback Kyler Murray from Arizona. Reports say that Murray with his hamstring could miss another week or so. The team is going to see how Kyler feels this week, with the Monday night game. But Colt McCoy did pretty well with the Cardinals last week against the Rams. So make sure you have an option. It's the Monday night game. You don't want to be stuck not having a quarterback. And then the game with Cleveland and Buffalo. In Buffalo, there was severe weather reports with like 6 feet of snow or something like that. That game now has been moved to Detroit, so they're going to play in Detroit. But the game start time is all the same. So better conditions for a lot of those players not having that snow game versus an indoor dome game. Main event, my must-start players for Week 11. And if I didn't talk specifically about a player, please check out the latest rankings at fantasyknockout.com. Teams on bye this week. Week 11 is Jacksonville, the Miami Dolphins, the Seattle Seahawks, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So time for my confidence levels. I'm going to run through the list of players and my confidence level and starting them each week. I put them into 3 different categories. The goal is to cover more players so that everyone has a good idea of what players to start over whom. The further down the list we go, the more questions we're going to have of who to start over who. Again, no player is a must-sit player in any scenario. To answer the question, should I sit player X? It depends on the answer to the question, who can you start instead? So the goal of this is to help you guys take the guesswork out of setting your lineups each week. And again, if you disagree with any of my takes, that's okay. Quarterbacks. So my confidence level in becoming a quarterback for the top 12 this week. To start with confidence level is 100 to 75%. We're going to kick it off with Josh Allen from Buffalo, Justin Fields from Chicago, Patrick Mahomes from Kansas City, Jalen Hurts from Philadelphia, Lamar Jackson from Baltimore, Joe Burrow from Cincinnati, Dak Prescott from Dallas, and Justin Herbert from the Los Angeles Chargers. Then my consider if needed. This is the 75 to 50% range. More streamable options here. We got Daniel Jones from the New York Giants, Jimmy Garoppolo from the San Francisco 49ers, Kirk Cousins from Minnesota, Marcus Mariota from Atlanta. And then that 50 to 40% range, still in that consider if needed, Russell Wilson from Denver, Taylor Heinicke from Washington, Jared Goff from Detroit, and then Kyler Murray from Arizona. I have him further down this list because of not suring if he's going to play or not. My bench, if possible, that 40 to 30% range. We're going to kick it off with Derek Carr from Las Vegas, Kenny Pickett from Pittsburgh, Matt Ryan from Indianapolis, Jacoby Brissett from Cleveland, and then that under 30%, guys, I would not want you to start unless you are in a pickle. Andy Dalton from the New Orleans Saints, Davis Mills from Houston, Mac Jones from New England, and Matthew Stafford from the Rams.
Running backs,
confidence level, and becoming that top 24 running back for the week. Start with confidence at 100 to 75%. Saquon Barkley from New York Giants, Christian McCaffrey from the San Francisco, Austin Eckler from the Los Angeles Chargers, Jonathan Taylor from Indianapolis, Joe Mixon from Cincinnati, Dalvin Cook from Minnesota, Nick Chubb from Cleveland, Josh Jacobs from the Las Vegas, and Alvin Kamara from New Orleans. Now this next group is the consider if needed. That's the 75 to 50%, most likely your RB2s. We're going to start off with Damian Pierce from Houston, Miles Sanders from Philly, Ramondre Stevenson from New England, David Montgomery from the Chicago, Tony Pollard from Dallas, Devin Singletary from Buffalo, James Conner from Arizona, Cordero Patterson from Atlanta, Jamal Williams from Detroit, Brian Robinson from Washington. Now, still in that consider if needed, but the 50 to 40%, more of the flex kind of guys. We're going to go with Antonio Gibson from Washington, Isaiah Pacheco from Kansas City, Deontay Foreman from Carolina, Najee Harris from Pittsburgh, Kenyon Drake from Baltimore, Gus Edwards from Baltimore, Elijah Mitchell from San Francisco, DeAndre Swift from Detroit, and Melvin Gordon from Denver. Now, the bench, if possible, if you have to flex them, I get it, but try not to start these guys unless you're, again, in that pickle. 40 to 30% in my confidence level. Michael Carter from the Jets, from New York, Kareem Hunt from Cleveland, Tyler Algier from Atlanta, Jerick McKinnon from Kansas City, Darrell Henderson from the Los Angeles Rams, Latavius Murray from Denver, Damian Harris from New England, James Robinson from New York Jets, and Ezekiel Elliott from Dallas. Now, the under 30% guys that I don't want to see in your lineups, please. Jaylen Warren from Pittsburgh, Kenneth Gainwell from Philly, James Cook from Buffalo, Kyron Williams from the Rams, Clyde Edwards-Helaire from Kansas City, Chuba Hubbard from Carolina, Caleb Huntley from Atlanta, and Alexander Mattison from Minnesota.
Wide receivers.
My wide receivers, confidence level in becoming that top 24 wide receiver for the week. Start with confidence, the 100 to 85%. These are going to be our studs. Stephon Diggs from Buffalo, Justin Jefferson from Minnesota, CeeDee Lamb from Dallas, A.J. Brown from Philly, Devontae Adams from Las Vegas, DeAndre Hopkins from Arizona, T. Higgins from Cincinnati, Terry McLaurin, Scary Terry from Washington, Amon-Ra St. Brown from Detroit, and Deebo Samuel from San Francisco. Now, still in the start with confidence, but this is a little bit less confident, 85 to 75%. We're going to go with Cortland Sutton from Denver, Brandon Ayuk from San Francisco, Chris Olave from New Orleans, Gabe Davis from Buffalo, Tyler Boyd from Cincinnati, Amari Cooper from Cleveland, Devontae Smith from Philly, Michael Pittman from Indianapolis, and Rondale Moore from Arizona. Now, my consider if needed, these guys are going to be our wide receivers twos. This is the 75 to 50% level. Jacoby Myers from New England, DJ Moore from Carolina, Kadarius Toney from Kansas City. I'm confused at what city he's in now. Darnell Mooney from Chicago, Josh Palmer from the Chargers, that's Los Angeles, Garrett Wilson from New York Jets, Curtis Samuel from Washington, Deontay Johnson from Pittsburgh, Adam Thielen from Minnesota. And then on my 50 to 40% confidence level, still not consider if needed, Darius Slayton from the New York Giants, George Pickens from Pittsburgh, Drake London from Atlanta, Allen Robinson from Los Angeles Rams, Donovan Peoples-Jones from Cleveland, Paris Campbell from Indianapolis, Marquez Valdes-Scantling from Kansas City, Brandon Cooks from Houston, and Devin Duvernay from Baltimore. Now, the bench, if possible, that 40 to 30% range. These guys are going to be the flex options this week. Nico Collins from Houston, Michael Gallup from Dallas, Terrace Marshall from Carolina, Mac Hollins from Las Vegas, Wan'Dale Robinson from the New York Giants, Van Jefferson from the Los Angeles Rams, Jarvis Landry out of New Orleans, Isaiah McKenzie from Buffalo, and DeAndre Carter from the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, the under 30% guys that I just don't want to see in there, Jahan Dotson from Washington, Chase Claypool from Chicago, Khalif Raymond out of Detroit, Ben Skoranek from the Los Angeles Rams, Alec Pierce from Indianapolis. I'm going to screw this one up. I've been practicing it, but I know I'm going to screw it up. Olamide Zaccheaus from Atlanta, KJ Osborne from Minnesota, and Demarcus Robinson from Baltimore.
Tight ends.
Now, my tight ends, the confidence level in becoming that top 12 tight end for the week. Start with confidence, 100 to 75%. Travis Kelce from Kansas City, Mark Andrews from Baltimore, George Kittle from San Francisco, TJ Hawkinson out of Minnesota, and Dalton Schultz from Dallas. Now, the consider if needed, these guys are going to be probably already on teams, but, streamable options here, 70 to 30% in my confidence level. Greg Dulcich from Denver, Pat Freiermuth, the Muth from Pittsburgh, Kyle Pitts out of Atlanta, Dawson Knox from Buffalo, Tyler Higbee from the Los Angeles Rams, Cole Kmet out of Chicago, Hayden Hurst from Cincinnati, Taysom Hill out of New Orleans, and Foster Moreau from Las Vegas. Now, the bench, if possible, these guys you could stream. I'm going to be in a pickle this week with one of my guys, so this is the under 30% level. Juan Johnson from New Orleans. This is the guy I picked up. Is Isaiah Likely out of Baltimore. Maybe we'll see if Mark Andrews plays or not. I'm hopeful that he doesn't. They give him one more week of rest. We'll see what Likely can do. Trey McBride from Arizona. He's replacing Zach Ertz. Tyler Conklin out of the New York Jets. Hunter Henry from New England, Logan Thomas from Washington, Harrison Bryant out of Cleveland, and then Gerald Everett from the Chargers. All right, guys, so leave me that comment. Give me that thumbs up, that thumbs down. Let me know what you guys think. I'm here to help you out each week, and let's try to win that week and get you that championship. Hashtag dominate your league. All right, playoff talk. You guys ready to talk some playoffs? Let's go. So real quick disclaimer, playoff matchups are not everything. They are a piece of the puzzle. And we're going to talk about those puzzle pieces going forward. So some league winners, they came out of nowhere last year. You guys remember Rashad Penny? I know one of my buddies does. He asked me to start or sit him, and I told him to start somebody else instead, and it ended up costing him his championship. Sorry, bud. Sony Michel came out of nowhere, and then everybody's going to remember Amon-Ra St. Brown, the playoff king last year. So let's talk some players and their schedules for playoffs. So quarterbacks with best schedules. Josh Allen from Buffalo. He's got Miami. He's at Chicago and at Cincinnati. Solid playoff. You're not going to be able to trade for him really, but just know, start him with confidence. Another guy that you might want to look to acquire before the trade deadline is coming up, Justin Herbert from the Chargers. He's got Tennessee. He's at Indianapolis and the Rams. Nice playoff schedule there. This one's I don't love it. I'm scared to do it, but he's got one of the best playoff schedules. And he will be available. Is Zach Wilson from the Jets. He's got Detroit, Jacksonville, and at Seattle. So if we're all stuck with no options, maybe we can go that route. Other guys you might be able to trade for or pick up pretty soon is Jimmy Garoppolo from the Niners and Tom Brady from the Patriots. Or not from the Patriots. Wow. Brady from the Bucks. Brady's on bye this week, so he might be out there. They have decent matchups for the playoffs. Garoppolo's got at Seattle, Washington, and at the Raiders. Brady's got Cincinnati, at Arizona, and Carolina. So I like those guys. Some not so good schedules. Guys I'll probably still roll with, but just know it's going to be more of a tough matchup for them. We're going to start with Tua Tagovailoa from Miami. He's got at Buffalo, Green Bay, and at New England. Justin Fields from Chicago. He's got Philly, Buffalo, and at Detroit. Nice one at the end, but those two tough ones in the beginning. Joe Burrow from Cincinnati. He's at Tampa Bay, at New England, and Buffalo. I mean, we're still going to start Burrow, but just know he, could struggle. Hopefully those are all shootout games. And then Patrick Mahomes doesn't have a good schedule, but I'm starting Pat no matter what. He's at Houston, Seattle, and Denver. All right, some running backs to start to consider, see if you can trade. Guys with the best schedules, it's going to be Derrick Henry. He's out of Tennessee. He's at the Chargers, Houston, and Dallas. Nice playoff matchup there. Alvin Kamara from the Saints. He's got Atlanta, at Cleveland, and at Philly. Nice schedule there. Really like Kamara. And you probably can buy low on him right now. The Tampa Bay backfield, you got Rashad White and Leonard Fournette. They have Cincinnati, at Arizona, and Carolina. Detroit also has a decent schedule. That's Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift. They're at the New York Jets, at Carolina, and Chicago. The Chicago Bears have a good one, so that's David Montgomery right now. That's Philadelphia, Buffalo, and at Detroit. The KC backfield, we'll see as that Pacheco, but they're at Houston, Seattle, and Denver. And then the New York Jets, they got a nice schedule too. That's Detroit, Jacksonville, and at Seattle. So that'd be Michael Carter and James Robinson. Some running backs with not a good schedule. Guys that I'm going to try to avoid. That's going to be Josh Jacobs from the Raiders. Joe Mixon from Cincinnati. I try to see if I could trade Mixon for Kamara straight up. James Conner, just don't love his schedule going forward. Not good, but not really too worried about. These are studs that not favorable matchups, but I'm still going to start them with confidence. Is Saquon Barkley from the Giants and Ken Walker from Seattle. Not the greatest matchups going in the playoffs, but you start them because they are studs. Some wideouts. Teams with the best schedules is going to be Houston. They got Kansas City, at Tennessee, and Jacksonville. The New Orleans Saints have a good schedule. That's Atlanta, at Cleveland, at Philly. Pittsburgh's got a pretty good one. That's at Carolina, Las Vegas, and at Baltimore. And then Dallas has a good one too. That's at Jacksonville, Philly, and at Tennessee. You might be able to pick up one of the receivers from Pittsburgh going forward. Maybe stash them. The Saints, Jarvis Landry might be out there. He could be a nice stash for the playoffs. Houston, Nico Collins and Brandon Cooks could be easy trade wide receivers to acquire fairly cheap because they're probably on somebody's bench that they're willing to get rid of. Dallas, CeeDee Lamb's probably really hard to trade for now, but he's got a nice schedule, so if you got him, kudos to you. Some not good schedules for receivers. Miami, I'm still going to start Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, but just know that their schedule is not the greatest. They're at Buffalo, Green Bay, and at New England. Jacksonville doesn't have the greatest schedule either. They got Dallas, at New York Jets, at Houston. So maybe Christian Kirk, you could swap him or get out of him and find somebody else. Kansas City doesn't have the greatest one either. They're at Houston, Seattle, and Denver. And then the Rams wide receivers, don't want any piece of them. They're at Green Bay, Denver, and at the Chargers. Some tight ends, the best schedules, Travis Kelce from the Chiefs. He's got the best tight end schedule. He's at Houston, Seattle, and Denver. Greg Dulcich from Denver's got a pretty nice matchup as well. That's Arizona, the Rams, and at Kansas City. Tyler Conklin, just because of Zach Ertz's schedule, he's in there. He'll be a streamable option. I don't want to really start him, but he's got Detroit, Jacksonville, and at Seattle. And then George Kittle from San Francisco. He's at Seattle, Washington, and at Las Vegas. He's got a decent matchup. All right, some defenses to look at for the playoffs. I'm going to break it down by each week, so 15, 16, and 17. So week 15, Kansas City's probably the number one matchup. They are at Houston. That's a juicy matchup. I like that. Green Bay's a good one as well. They have the Rams. Minnesota's a decent one. They have Indianapolis. Philly's got a good one. They're at Chicago. And the New York Jets, they have Detroit. Some Week 16 matchups. San Francisco has a nice one. They have Washington. Baltimore Ravens has a good matchup there against Atlanta. Tennessee's a nice one. I'm going to target anybody going against Houston. So Tennessee versus Houston. Tampa Bay's got a good one. They're at Arizona. And Kansas City, they have Seattle. And then in that final championship week, Week 17, Tampa Bay, they have Carolina. Baltimore has Pittsburgh. Philly, finally in the playoffs, they have New Orleans. Green Bay is another good one. They have Minnesota. And then Kansas City, they have Denver. So my top defense to probably target is going to be KC and Tampa Bay. That should be available now. Philly's also a nice one. You're going to start Buffalo and probably Denver. Those are solid teams. San Francisco is probably a good team that are rostered now, so hold with them. But you might want to pick up a second one just in case some injuries, something happens. We don't know. It's still some weeks out before the playoffs, but we can start thinking about acquiring these teams before trade or off waivers and when buys happen, stuff like that. That's going to wrap it up for today. The next show is Week 11 Injury Report. Thank you for listening to the show. Make sure to subscribe, whatever platform you're watching or listening on. Really helps me out. All right. Till next time. See ya.